Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Today we're checking out why do the British drive on the left?
If you've ever visited the UK, it is hard to miss the fact that they drive on the left. This can be quite disorienting, as around 65% of the world drives on the right. Have you ever wondered why this is?
Yeah. It's so strange to see a car with the steering wheel on the right.
This can be quite disorienting, as around 65% of the world drives on the right. Have you ever wondered why this is?
Yeah.
Why did the UK and most of its former colonies choose to drive on the left? The answer is a rather long and complicated one.
Okay.
Let us explain.
All right.
For starters, it should be noted that the practice of driving on the left even predates cars. It all started in the Middle Ages, and perhaps even further back to in ancient Greece and Rome. During those times, there was always the risk of being attacked while traveling. Since most people are right-handed, they tended to travel on the left to keep their sword-fighting hand free in case of attack.
End of video. It's explained. This makes sense. So you would want to have the sword in your right hand and control the horse with your left hand. That makes sense.
Swordsmen preferred to keep to the left, so their right arm would be nearer to an opponent. This also reduced the chance of the scabbard hitting other people.
What's a scabbard? A sheath for the blade of a sword or dagger, typically made of leather or metal. Oh.
It was also safer to mount and dismount towards the side of the road rather than in the middle of traffic. There is some evidence that this practice of riding on the left may have even gone as far as ancient Greece and Rome. And that wasn't the only case of people traveling to the left. For instance, in 1300 AD, Pope Boniface VIII declared that all pilgrims traveling to Rome should keep to the left.
Hang on, he was saying it's easier to dismount on the side of the road. Why does it matter? Wait, so if you're riding like this, and you dismount, could you not do it on either side? Confused.
For instance, in 1300 AD, Pope Boniface VIII declared that all pilgrims traveling to Rome should keep to the left.
Why is the Pope voicing his opinion about this? I guess it was during the Crusades? That's probably what it was. Control. Pope Boniface. I like that name. 1294 to 1303. He made it 9 years. Is my math right?
So how did people ever switch to the right? Well, it turns out Napoleon preferred to ride on the right, and so did Hitler. In fact, Hitler forced Czechoslovakia and Austria to switch to right-hand driving. However, since Britain resisted both Napoleon and Hitler, the country never switched to the right. One country that did not have to make the switch, however, was America. Although the US likely started out riding on the left, as in England, the country has been driving on the right side of the road since colonial times. At that time, the country saw the use of large wagons that were drawn by several pairs of horses. These wagons had no driver's seat, and the driver sat on the horse at the rear left. Driving to the right meant the driver could see oncoming traffic, and it also made it less likely they would steer into a ditch. Although this has been the practice since colonial times, it wasn't until 1792 and 1804, respectively, that Pennsylvania and New York made it official by regulating it. Many states then followed their example, but the practice was cemented when Henry Ford put the Model T's steering wheel on the left-hand side of the car. The mass production of affordable cars then saw many countries change their rules of the road.
So why did people sit on the left side of the carriage? Oh, because most people are right-handed, so they have the reins and that's in the middle. It's two horses, and they would need to have their hand in the middle of the two horses, I guess. And most people are right-handed, so they would sit on the left. Okay. And then Henry Ford came along and said that's the way it is.
Meanwhile, in the UK, the massive wagons of the US weren't popular. Instead, vehicles in Britain were smaller and had seats for the driver to sit on behind the horses. As most people are right-handed, the driver would sit to the right of the seat in order to keep his whip hand free. This ensured that people kept driving to the left.
So they would have a whip in their right hand. they would want the left hand to control the horses, so the left hand would be in the middle. But Americans didn't have a whip hand? Surely we had a whip hand. Americans have whip hands. They had larger wagons, so they had 2 horses, so they would need their right hand between the 2 horses. In the UK, they didn't have the large wagons. They would just have a single horse, so the guy would have his left hand in the middle, and his right hand would have a whip. Those British people were whipping their horses.
In addition, 18th century London saw the introduction of a traffic law to make all vehicles on London Bridge keep to the left. This was in an effort to reduce collisions. The rule was then incorporated into the Highway Act of 1835 and was later adopted throughout the UK, making left-hand driving mandatory in Britain. The 20th century saw an attempt to harmonize road laws in Europe, leading to a shift in right-hand driving.
Y'all, seeing this footage of this old footage of people driving, there must have been so many car accidents. I mean, people are just whipping around. Wow. So dangerous.
This was in an effort to reduce collisions. The rule was then incorporated into the Highway Act of 1835 and was later adopted throughout the UK, making left-hand driving mandatory in Britain. The 20th century saw an attempt to harmonize road laws in Europe, leading to a shift in right-hand driving, but that didn't affect the UK. Today, there are around 78 countries and territories that drive on the left.
That's amazing that these little differences caused this. That blows my mind. So the British drive on the left because they had smaller carriages with single horses. So the left hand controlling the horse, right hand free for a whip. Well, the Americans had these giant wagons with 2 horses, 2 rows of horses probably. And they would need their right hand to control those horses. The left hand would be, you could pick your nose with it. Now I know. I've always wondered. This blows my mind. I mean, but it really came from swordsmen in the Middle Ages. Well, this was fascinating. Thank y'all for watching it with me. And I'll see you next time. Later.